Welcome to Real Estate Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters, sharing proven strategies to help you build a better business today. And here is your host, Keith Doherty.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our show. This is your host, Keith Doherty. Today our special guest is real estate broker associate Addora Beall of Hall & Chambers Real Estate out of California. Now, Addora is a hyper-local real estate professional focusing her energies on residential real estate with an emphasis on architecturally significant homes in premier areas of Glendale, California, and surrounding areas. She's a licensed broker and has been in business for 17 years. She was recognized in 2013 and 14 as one of Southern California's top 50 agents, and she is the president-elect for Glendale Association of Realtors. So, Addora, welcome to the show.
Hi, Keith. Thanks very much for having me.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you here today. And I guess if we could start, if you could tell our listeners, what led you into real estate? Was it something you knew you always wanted to do, or did you kind of maybe stumble into it?
That's an interesting question. I never thought of it until my husband suggested it. I had been an interior designer, and I was getting a little bit weary of that business, and he said, why don't you try real estate? I think you'd be really good. And I took the classes and started selling real estate, and it was just a natural evolution for me. I never had a learning curve. It just was always comfortable for me.
Yeah, I think that kind of it's great that you kind of choose a path that really wasn't that you didn't expect, but then when you fall into it, I think it just becomes natural, like you said. So you're kind of almost like it was your calling to be in it because it was so easy for you.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
So what personal attributes or traits or qualities do you think have most contributed to the success you've had, and how do you think you've developed those?
I'm not afraid to tell clients the truth. I think many times agents in interviews with their potential clients will tell them what they want to hear, and I'm not that person. And I do believe that prospective clients and clients who become start working with me will agree with that. They want to know the truth. And people who are sufficiently motivated to list or sell a home want the truth. They don't want to mess around with me telling them an inflated price and having it sit on the market for a long time. They want to get the job done, and I get the job done. I'm also not afraid to ask pertinent questions. In the past, I've done some training, mentoring of new agents, and I find that they're afraid to ask the questions that are so relevant to their business. I'm not afraid to do that.
Yeah, I think that's some key points you made there. The one about asking questions, I think a lot of people just assume that, they want to just, kind of just assume that they know what's going on, but to actually take that time to ask those questions, to find out what your customers really want, and then be able to kind of help them with that.
I think you have to really drill down to the motivation of why a potential client wants to list or sell a home. And unless you are really in touch with that point, you're not going to be successful in that transaction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. We actually had an interview the other day where an agent received a call from her doctor and said, "Oh, hey, my parents want to sell their home. Can you help them?" So she went and she talked to them, and they really didn't want to sell, but they thought they had to for financial reasons. They thought it would make more sense to move into a condo. And when she sat down with them and went through everything, it actually made more sense to stay where they were, and they were actually happier. And so she could have easily went over there and said, hey, your son sent me, and let's get your house on the market. And they might have went along with it, but she took the time, like you said, which I think is important, to listen. What do they really need? What do they really want? And she, forego a commission potentially, but she helped the client at the end of the day.
You made a very important point that I would like to agree with. I have a heart to serve rather than to sell. And in that, I take away the big piece of my potential commission, because that's just a benefit of a job well done, in my opinion. If I really am listening and caring and putting a potential client's interest in front of my own, I'm going to do an excellent job for them, and everyone is going to be happy in the end.
Yeah, I think the point you made there, too, is important to focus on, too, that you said you choose to serve, and you don't focus on, the end result, which, a byproduct of helping and really helping somebody is the commission, right? That comes along, and obviously you've had success throughout the years, but you haven't said, okay, I'm going to just go out and get as many commissions, I'm going to get as many listings as I can. You went out and said, I'm going to help as many people as I can, listen to them, help them with their needs and their wants, and then obviously, like you said, a byproduct is the commissions are going to come because you're doing the right thing.
Exactly. And to be honest, I have made choices in some interviews to not accept a listing or work with a buyer because it wasn't a good fit for both of us. I think that's really important. We have to be comfortable with each other. We have to forge a bond of trust in order to do a good job.
Excellent. So, do you think you could maybe give us an example or specific examples of when these traits that you've talked about have played a role in your path towards success?
Yes, I can. I deal a lot with family trusts, and oftentimes they're painful situations. Maybe a family member has just passed away, or they've had to relocate them to senior living or whatever. And my sensitivity and desire to serve them has been in the forefront. It has created a sense of comfort in a difficult situation, and I think it has served me well.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of moving forward, too, a little bit with obviously you've had success, 17 years you've been in the industry. I'm sure maybe it hasn't been all, roses and perfect with everything. So, what are some of the major adversities or trials that you had to overcome to achieve your goals?
Well, the market change in 2009 to 2012 just about laid me bare. And it caused me to rethink how I did business and what I was going to do to continue. I changed companies, and I got involved in personal coaching, which gave me an all-new skill set to be more successful, and I think that was my saving grace. And it just took me to the next level in my real estate career.
Yeah, I think that, you pointed on something there, you kind of ran into, hey, the market is always fluctuating, and there's going to be ups and downs and changes, but instead of kind of maybe, walking away from it, you moved into a different path, into a different area, and you still, continue to move forward and have success with it.
Well, just to piggyback onto that comment, 2009 to 2012 was the time where we had lots and lots of short sales and bank-owned, which is a segment of the market that I have never participated in. I jumped into that full bore and started working in a company that was all they worked with, and it allowed me to make it through that difficult few years when regular retail real estate was just virtually non-existent.
Yeah, I think that's a great point you bring up, that you kind of went with the market, you went with what you could do to, like I said, continue to keep, building forward, and you realize that, hey, I'm going to move with this company that specializes in this, so that you can get in and you can learn everything you had to, so that you could continue, obviously, to build during a down market.
It was a very difficult time, very difficult. I'm glad we're through it and in a much better market now.
So obviously you had some choices when the market shifted. You could have said, hey, maybe this isn't just for me anymore. Maybe I've had enough of real estate. So what kept you going despite the obstacles? Why didn't you give up? Why did you, find a way to move forward? I
loved the business of real estate. As I said, there was no learning curve for me. It just fell naturally to me. And self-preservation is what caused me to move forward. I had a family to support, and I could not let them down. So I had to recreate myself and my business and make the most of it. And I did.
Yeah, I think it's It's great that you said there that, it wasn't just you involved. You obviously said you had a family, you had other people relying on you, so, quitting wasn't an option. You had to, let me figure out a way around this obstacle, this market. There had to be a way, and we've talked to other realtors too that went through that, and it's great to see that instead of giving up, that people forge forward and find a way to have success in the market, even when the market shifts or it changes, and you have to take on a different, I guess, positioning or tactics, I guess.
I think it's very important to understand my motivation. And anyone in this business, we have to know why we do what we do.
All right, excellent. So, that kind of speaks volumes of forging forward and continuing to move your career and to build your business. So, kind of looking forward now even a little bit further, what do you see your vision for the way you're going to build your business, say, over the next 5 years?
I've thought about this for a number of years, but I think the time is coming into fruition for me to think about building a dynamic team. I have a passion for training new agents, and I want to incorporate them into my business model. I want to expand what I do and do it better, and I think bringing in some agents, starting with buyer's agents, and maybe another listing agent down the road. I'm not sure yet. I'm still kind of formulating that, but I think that's the next step for me.
Yeah, I think it. From other agents we've talked to, it seems like it's not one of those careers where you can easily say, hey, I'm taking an extended vacation. It seems like that people need you and you have to be around. But I think what you said there might give you a way to kind of alleviate that a little bit, where if you build yourself a team, it's not all going to be reliant upon you. Not everybody needs you around, but you could have other people that could serve your clients the same way you did, and especially if you train them. I mean, that would be ideal. If it's kind of like, you look at a football team where they recruit people and then they train them and they build them up the way they want them. It's kind of where you could build that team around your work ethic and exactly how you want things to operate.
I agree. So that's my goal.
So from a kind of a still, from a growth standpoint, what do you feel the best way that you market yourself as a real estate professional so that you can have continual growth?
I think it's important to understand yourself and to know what you're really good at. For example, this little niche market that has been created in recent years for me with trust work, I have a lot of compassion for families that are going through difficult times. And it's kind of evolved. It seems to be a very good fit for me, whereas some people might really want to work with really high-dollar properties, and just all about the money might be for them. But I think you have to figure out what you're good at and then find a way in the market to manifest that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. I think too, like you said, and I think that goes with any profession, that you find your little, your overall niche of real estate, but then, like you said, you find your little sub-niche areas, and it could be more than one, but if you can really embrace a lot of times for our listeners, we call it your superpower. Everybody seems to have that internal abilities that might be better than other people's at certain things. So if you can identify that and then find a way to plug that into your professional career, that it's not going to be like work. It's going to be like fun. Like you said, you really enjoy working on the trust and helping people, and that might be your superpower wheelhouse that you found there.
That's definitely one of them. And as you said, it doesn't feel like work. I work really hard. I work probably some every day, and I don't take a lot of time off because I love it. I love doing what I do, and I think my clients recognize that and appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that sometimes when it comes to real estate, especially with agents, I think the barrier to entry, as you would probably agree, seems to be somewhat easy. I mean, I know there's some basic training, and then there's usually a test for licensing, but there tends to be misconceptions about agents and what they can do. So what do you think the biggest misconception or myth people have about working with real estate agents is? I
think it's that all agents are alike. I think once you get into working with a really excellent agent, you understand the difference, because there is a huge difference. In a good market like we're in now, a seller's market, it seems that new agents pop up all over the place because they want to, quote, get rich quick. And I think their business acumen reflects that. They don't really serve their clients. They just want to get them sold. They just want to, get to the commission the quickest, easiest way they can, and they cut corners. And I think it gives a good, ethical agent with integrity a bad rap, because the perception is that all agents are alike and all agents just want that commission. So I think that's so untrue and unfair. And once you work with a really excellent agent, you understand that.
Yeah, I think on the other side of like a person thinking, oh, I'm just going to, like you said, I think they have the grandeur of, oh, I'm just going to get my license and I'm going to be rich,
Exactly.
and they're focused on the money, which, as we alluded to earlier, I think in any line of work is the wrong way to approach success, because at the end of the day, I think people that focus on the money, they may achieve it and for a short period of time, but I think at the end of the day, those that serve others, that really help people, and they do the right thing by other people, are the ones that are truly going to thrive and have success, as you've proven in your 17 years.
Well, thank you. I think there's a very high percentage of failure rate in the real estate market for that very reason. Very few agents make it more than 2 or 3 years if they have that mindset.
All right. Excellent. So let's say we'll kind of take a hypothetical situation here. Let's say that you get a call from a family member. Say they're in New York. They thought they were in spring, but they got snow here in April, and they said, "Oh, we're done with it. We're sick of this. We're going to sell our house here, and then you know what? We're going to move out with you in California." What advice would you give them? Obviously, we know you could potentially do a referral and you could help them, but what advice would you give them to select an agent who could best serve their needs? Kind of how you take care of your people. How would you help them try to find that kind of person that's similar to you that could really serve them and help them?
I would look for a seasoned agent who has some type of a venue that they can go to read client reviews. I think the best recommendation you can have is client reviews, because they're telling the truth from their perception, their experience, and nobody's paying them to do that. So, perhaps a Zillow or something like that, where you have client comments. I would look for an agent that does a lot of business in the area that they want to work in. I would see if they've been in business at least 10 years, and look for their areas of specialty. Maybe they might specialize in relocation or something like that. And then I would read the reviews from past clients.
Yeah, I think you brought a great point up there about reviews. I mean, especially, like you said, they're potential clients. They've worked with them, and they're going to be honest, and you're going to get a really, especially with the day and age of the internet. I mean, you simply go and type somebody's name in, and usually you're going to see a whole plethora of information of all sorts of stuff. So I think it's really important. I mean, even you think like my wife and I go to another town or city, and we'll go on our phone and look for a place to eat. You look at the reviews. Oh, these they got 5 stars. This must be a good place. And we take the recommendation of other people's reviews. So
everybody uses the internet for that. By the time they come to calling an agent for an interview, they already know everything about them. It's quite interesting. I find it all the time. I ask people who call me and ask, if we can get together and talk about listing a home. I ask them every time, where did you find me? I found you on the internet. Well, great. They've gone to my Zillow page and looked at my agent reviews, and it feels like a good fit for them, and they call me. Or other places as well. My website, my Top Agent magazine. A number of places.
Yeah, I think that's key to what you said there, is that, from an agent standpoint, I think it's key to point out, if we have an agent listening, that you really need to make sure you have your presence out there. Obviously,
Absolutely.
there's many different places. From, obviously, you mentioned all the referrals, or not the referral, but the feedback and people making recommendations, as well as even Facebook and all the social media sites. I think, like you said, people do their homework now. They're going to at least type your name in at a minimum, and as an agent, as a person, you should probably do that and see what your reputation looks like.
Exactly.
See what people see out there, so you can make sure you're putting on the proper picture.
Because that's the truth. Nobody pays them to give you those referrals or recommendations. That's the truth. So I really value those endorsements highly. Yeah,
definitely a third party like that. I think it speaks more volumes than, like you said, anything that you manufacture yourself, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody wants to find out more about you and how you can help them, especially if they're in your area, Glendale, California, and surrounding areas, what's the best way they can find out more about you and how you can help them?
Well, they can go to livinginglendale.com, which is my website, or they could go to Zillow.com and type in my name, Addora Beall, and read my client endorsements. Or they can just put my name on Google and see what comes up. There's a wealth of information, and my contact information is there.
Excellent. Well, Addora, I know you're busy, obviously, and we certainly appreciate you for taking time to come here today and to share your business experience with our listeners and everything that you've kind of learned throughout your 17-year career. And anybody listening, too, if you want to learn more about Addora, we're going to have links below this interview, so we'll have all her contact information. I know she mentioned some of it, but we'll get it, and we'll have it there. We'll have her website and any of her contact information, so that you can reach out and you can see if she'd be a good fit to work with you. Or, like she said, just go to Google and type her name in. I think that speaks volumes too, that she knows that what you're going to find is quality. Otherwise, I think people wouldn't tell, they would, hey, don't Google me, because you're not going to like what you see.
I'm very proud of my accomplishments, Keith. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you again. And everybody, until our next show, have a great day, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Thanks for listening to Real Estate Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading real estate industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at realestateinnovatorsradio.com today.